Cześć na następnym naszym live'ie z Jess. Teraz będziemy trochę już grillować nareszcie. Będę chciała sprawdzić wiedzę Jess, czy faktycznie zna się na tym grillowaniu i czy umie strymować pewne elementy, które są mniej popularne. Okay, Jess, so now I have a task for you. I will check your knowledge and your butcher skills.
Oh, okay,
And,
okay.
it's gonna be online, so
Okay, everyone can see it, right?
everybody will see it. So we are starting with one cut that you probably know or heard about.
Okay.
Let's see what it's gonna be.
Bart's bringing them. Come here.
Tutaj, co tutaj nam
You have to turn
przyniosłeś?
around and wave. Come here.
Chodź, Bartek, chodź. Tutaj jest w ogóle...
Yeah, we have to say thank you to Bart, Luna. We're in his house here. Thank you so much for having us here.
Dziękuję wam wszystkim, działamy dalej. Grillowa brać górą, nie?
Thanks,
you.
Bart.
Dzięki.
So, okay. Do you know that this is one of my favorites?
I didn't know.
It's true.
Okay.
So this is one of my favorite cuts, and it's a great way to show you how different steaks are kind of invented, because there's no new muscles on a cow, but we find different ways to cut them.
Teraz będziemy robić element, który jest... jest to mięsień, który od zawsze był w krowie, nie jest to nic nowego, natomiast Jess wam pokaże, w jaki sposób można z niego wyciąć pewne nowe steki.
First, I want to talk about this. It's really important. This is not blood. It's just water that comes from the meat with a protein called myoglobin that gives it its color. So I don't want to hear any of you call it blood out there, okay?
Więc zaczniemy od tego, że jak otwieramy wakum, to mamy wyciek pewnej substancji i nie jest to krew, ponieważ krew została spuszczona ze zwierzęcia po ubiciu. Natomiast jest to woda zawierająca myoglobinę, która daje nam taki ładny różowy, czerwony kolorek.
Myoglobina? Is that what we're calling it in Polish?
No, that's right.
That's great. So now I've learnt it in a new language. Yeah, you'll see me always use a paper towel to wipe down. Important for two reasons. One, safety. If the drier it is, the easier it is to cut. And then two, I'll explain later.
Teraz Jess trochę go osuszyła właśnie z tego osocza za pomocą ręcznika papierowego i tak należy zawsze zrobić.
Okay, so this is a top blade roast.
Ten element nazywa się top blade roast.
Okay, now I'm just cleaning up some silver skin from the underside. This is very, very tough and it doesn't cook down, and we're going to grill this, so you have to remove it.
Teraz oczyszcza ścięgna na dole tego elementu, one są bardzo twarde, one nie zmiękną, trzeba je wyciąć.
So top blade roast is a very interesting steak, and let me show you why. Because, and I have to trim this whole, actually, you explain that while I trim. I'm going to take all this cap off as well.
Więc top blade jest bardzo ciekawym mięśniem i zaraz Jess wam powie dlaczego, ale najpierw tutaj musi to wszystko strymować, tą okrywę taką z góry też.
You know this is one of the hardest to butcher, so thank you very much, Maria. She likes to challenge me.
To jest jeden z trudniejszych elementów do strymowania, więc Jess będzie miała małe wyzwania, ale sobie dobrze radzi.
So I know it seems counterintuitive or it seems like a contradiction after telling you to leave the fat on the brisket that I'm taking the fat off this, but right underneath the fat on this sits all this, I'll show you here. This silver skin, you can see it looks different. This is the fat, nice and squishy, and this is that tough silver skin, and we have to take that off.
Także to może się wydawać trochę jakby odwrotnością tego, co robiliśmy przy mostku, gdzie chcieliśmy trochę zostawić tego tłuszczu na powierzchni. Tutaj ścinamy to wszystko, dlatego że ten tłuszcz to nie jest tylko tłuszcz, ale to jest też ta naprawdę bardzo twarda powięź, taka błona, której się pozbywamy w całości razem z tłuszczem, ale no i tutaj nic nie zostawiamy, musi jechać na czysto.
Got it in my eye, good shot. So you can see I'm peeling it all away like this. I'm going in with the knife like you saw, and then angling it towards the silver skin, because the silver skin doesn't cut as easily as the muscle. So it'll just slide next to the muscle and remove, but take the skin with it, so you get it in a nice long piece like that.
Czyli widzimy, że ten twardy element bardzo ładnie współpracuje z nożem, w zasadzie wzdłuż niego idealnie można ścinać praktycznie bez mięsa.
So this top blade roast, which is also called sometimes oyster blade, what do you call it here? What's the I guess there's no translation. It's
Yeah.
just whatever it is
Top
in
blade.
Polish, right?
Yeah.
So traditionally, and this is one you do want to take your time to trim up as neatly as possible. It'll be worth it.
Tak, w przypadku tego elementu nie martwimy się absolutnie tym, że jest jakiś ubytek. Pozbywamy się tych wszystkich twardych rzeczy, bo one są naprawdę twarde, na czyściutko.
You can see here, anywhere that you see the light color is going to be fat and marbling, and especially in this tail, it's so good. There's so much marbling in here. It's actually from the chuck, the shoulder area. So used to...
Tutaj widzimy właśnie te białe żyłki, no to jest oczywiście marmurek i jest to przepiękny marmurek w tym elemencie. Top blade ma cudowny marmurek, zwłaszcza na tej końcówce, jest niesamowicie marmurkowy.
So in this steak, there's this very thick membrane. I'm going to cut one more steak. This is how they used to cut top blade steaks. They used to take the top blade roast and cut it across like this.
Tak, czyli tutaj odcinamy ten stek, tak się...
And you can see that running in the middle is this very thick membrane, just like a fish skeleton, it runs
Tak.
all the way through.
Możemy właśnie sobie odciąć takiego pierwszego steka, żeby dokładnie zobaczyć, gdzie ta przez środek prawie idealnie biegnie ta bardzo, bardzo twarda błona tak wzdłuż. Poprzek? Nie. Wzdłuż.
So what we figured out is instead of cutting it this way, if we treated it just like a fish and filleted or filleted the meat off the top, we could make a different steak.
Tak, także tutaj tak filetujemy w zasadzie po tej błonie, zjeżdża nam nóż wzdłuż, no tak jak filetujemy i powstanie nam z tego nowy stek.
So now that we've cut it this way, this is a flat iron steak.
I teraz pojawił nam się stek flat iron.
Look at the marbling in it, isn't that beautiful? So also fun fact, this is actually the next tender steak after the fillet or the tenderloin.
No i właśnie ten przepiękny marmurkowy stek flat iron jest najbardziej delikatnym elementem w tuszy po polędwicy.
Now, if you want to, obviously, we're going to rush along to make sure we can show you as much as possible today, but obviously you can just cut the second side off and end up with two halves and then take the membrane and throw it away.
Czyli normalnie powstają nam dwie takie połowy. Ta druga została na razie z tą membraną, z tą błoną, ale oczywiście w domu ściągamy też z tej drugiej części tą błonę. Tutaj nie będziemy tego pokazywać, bo się trochę spieszymy. I wtedy tniemy sobie cały element na steki, górę i dół.
I really like grilling them whole like this. The bigger the piece of meat, the easier it is to handle on the grill. So we'll be doing it like this today, but often, sometimes in the shops, you'll find them in portions. So a piece like this might be in 4 pieces just like that. It is still just as good.
Czyli normalnie Jess rekomenduje, żeby cały taki stek zgrillować w całości, bo wtedy jest najlepszy, ale najczęściej w sklepach znajdujemy już poporcjowanego tego flat irona na takie 200-300 gramowe steki.
All right, so I'm going to get this back in the fridge and Bart is going to challenge me with my next steak. Thank you.
Dobra, to teraz przejdziemy do następnego steka. Później na końcu będzie grillowanie, jak już wszystkie Jess ładnie wytrymuje i obrobi. A teraz po prostu przechodzimy do następnego.
I see you brought the Texas to me, because this is a very, very classic Texas cut here.
Pytanie można zadawać?
No...
Średnio, bo później to najbardziej delikatne mięso po polędwice, a cab ribeye gdzie się mieści?
No, ribeye cup is which one in the carcass in terms of tenderness?
It's nowhere near the top 3 or 4. So
Nie jest blisko, nie jest ani na trzecim, ani na czwartym miejscu nawet.
So it's actually the psoas major, which is the tenderloin, and then the infraspinatus, which is the flat iron, and then the teres major, which is the petite tender. Those are the top 3.
Okay.
See? How's that for Latin? Do you speak Latin as well as Polish? I'm kidding. So, you know what I like about this steak? This is shaped like a cactus paddle. Have you seen our cactus?
Yeah. Okej, tutaj Jess nawiązuje, że tutaj przynieśliśmy jej trochę Teksasu, ponieważ no ten stek jest bardzo popularny w Teksasie i lubiany, a dodatkowo jeszcze się kojarzy Jess z kaktusem.
So this is a flank steak and it comes from right here on the side. Sorry, did you know you were going to be my model today?
I didn't expect that, but I'm honored. Thank you for that.
The flank is, I call it a type of skirt steak. It's technically not, but it's got the most pronounced grain out of all the different steaks. And the grain is the direction that the meat fibers run. You can see them very clearly running from top to bottom here.
Tak, czyli mamy ten stek bardzo wyrazisty, bardzo wyraźnie widać, jak są ułożone w nim włókna. Jest po prostu, no, bardzo dokładnie to widzimy na samym steku i one są ułożone wzdłuż, tak, horyzontalnie.
So there were 2 flank steaks in this package. We're just working with one today. And what I'm doing now, it's absolutely not necessary, but it's a great way to show with a little bit of knowledge and care how you can increase the enjoyment of the meat. I cut off a section from here that had some very hard fat, but also tough silver skin underneath. And the nice part about this is we can keep it and use it to grind to make burger patties, meatballs, whatever. I don't throw any of this out. You can always keep it in a bag in the freezer until you have enough to grind.
Więc Jess teraz trochę delikatnie tylko obrabia tego flank steaka. Nie musimy tego robić, ale jest taka opcja i ścina po prostu z jednej końcówki tam, gdzie jest taki grubszy, twardszy tłuszcz i tak samo tutaj te końcówki z drugiej strony, bo będzie po prostu lepsze doznanie smakowe, jeśli się to zrobi. A to, co zostanie, oczywiście mielimy i możemy wykorzystać do burgerów, do jakichś tych kebabów takich różnych mielonych kuleczek mięsnych, czy
Did you say kebab? Did I hear kebab? Is that right? I would make kebabs out of them too, don't worry. I'm trying to learn here. You don't need to do anything else to this. Again, I'm actually going to make a rub for it to show you like a fajita style rub, because this is very commonly used in Tex-Mex cooking. So I'll put this one aside for now. We'll get her back in the fridge to keep it nice and food safe. How am I doing so far on the challenges?
You're doing okay.
Just okay? Maria!
Fantastic!
Thank you! That's what I was waiting for. All right, I'm two out of 3.
Teraz ten stek idzie do lodówki, później go Jess przygotuje marynatę taką w stylu meksykańskim, fajitas i zanim trafi na grill, to go zamarynuje, ale teraz następny kawałek wjeżdża.
All right, I don't know what this is yet. I haven't read it on the label and I can't figure it out. I feel like I have to open it and figure it out.
Yeah,
so
you can do it.
And you can see this packet has those same marks that I was telling you about to show you the quality and the safety here.
Tak, na wszystkich opakowaniach jest oczywiście napisana klasa jakości i tutaj dodatkowo jest jeszcze rasa bydła, ale nie możemy wymieniać.
Oh, I know what this is now. Okay. The secret is revealed. This cut, which looks pretty unattractive right now, but we're going to turn it into something special.
Dobrze, to tutaj mamy bardzo pięknie wyglądający stek.
So this is called, it was for many years called the butcher's cut, because they would keep it all for themselves and not share it with people because they knew it was one of the best.
Przez wiele lat on był nazywany butcher steak, bo rzeźnicy go zatrzymywali dla siebie, bo wiedzieli, że on jest najlepszy.
And if I remember correctly, it's your favorite.
Yes.
So now I understand why she gave it to me, because now she gets to eat it today. That makes sense. So this is called a hanger steak, and the interesting thing about this is there's only one per animal. Usually when we talk about beef, there's at least 2 of everything because it gets cut into a side, but this one connects the diaphragm, and so there's only one of them.
To jest wyjątkowy kawałek, mięsień, ponieważ jest on tylko jeden w tuszy. Normalnie mamy mięśnie parami w tuszy. Natomiast ten mięsień jest tylko jeden, dlatego jest tak cenny, bo jest go tak mało. I dodatkowo on ma taki kształt, ponieważ podtrzymuje przeponę.
So, just like all the other steaks, it does have that membrane on it. You can actually nearly tear it off if it's cold enough, but I'm going to just trim it up, and then I have to show you probably the other important thing about this. So first we'll start by taking off all of the silver skin that I can see.
Czyli zaczynamy od pozbycia się całej tej membrany, czy tam powięzi i wszystkich różnych innych tkanek łącznych.
So the other peculiar thing about the hanger steak is it has its own very strong, just like the flat iron, a very strong connector running through the middle. You can see that membrane on both sides, so we're going to continue to clean it up. And then what I'm going to do is cut along that membrane to separate them into like two long thin steaks, so it's better eating quality.
Więc widzimy, że tam na dole pod spodem biegnie przez środek też taka bardzo twarda błona, podobnie jak w top blade'zie. I tak samo tutaj z zewnątrz jest też ta tkanka łączna i musimy jednego i drugiego się pozbyć, dlatego najpierw ona zbierze to z góry, zdejmie, a potem wytniemy to ze środka i będą dwa bardzo super delikatne, pyszne steki.
You're putting me to work here, you know.
I know.
The other thing that's really interesting about hanger, it has a very interesting texture. It really is good for marinades and seasonings because they can get all the way in between these folds.
Tak, tutaj mamy właśnie takie, no to jest tak miękkie, delikatne mięso, że ono się po prostu aż tak rozchodzi i to jest fajne do marynowania, bo w te zagłębienia wchodzą przyprawy i można sobie jeszcze podbić smak tego mięsa.
Okay, so we're mostly
Marinata.
cleaned up here. I'm just trying to get this last little bit, otherwise you'll complain about how I made it taste. And then all I have to do is cut along that seam, basically, into two steaks.
Teraz po prostu przetniemy to na dwa, bo to przez środek tak sobie biegnie idealnie i pozbędziemy się tego
So
ze środka.
that's one hanger steak right there, ready to go, and then just cut that seam out of the other side, and we'll have two.
Tak, ten już jest gotowy, tutaj jeszcze jest ta twarda błona powięź i to wycinamy i będziemy mieć już dwa hanger steaki idealne.
Are you ready to eat?
Yes.
Okay.
No, for me it's so great to stand next to you and just watch because yeah, I
Because
like to,
then you don't have to do the work.
that's one point. No, but you're doing this really great.
Thank you.
I can see you like it.
I do. I love butchering. And honestly, the thing that I like most about it is it feels very powerful to be able to open a piece that you think is like, what is this? This looks terrible. And then turn it into something that you know is very, very special.
Także to jest bardzo fajna przygoda, jak ktoś, na pewno tutaj to towarzystwo, które się zebrało i przed swoimi komputerami tak samo wszyscy lubią mięso, lubią się nim bawić, to jest pewnego rodzaju fetysz, żeby sobie właśnie to przygotowywać.
Okay, so we're going to get the other two steaks out. I'm going to season them all, and I'm going to grill them all at the same time because they'll all use the same method for grilling. Before that, I want to put together a quick rub for the flank steak that I was telling you about. And actually, I'm going to cut the flank steak into a section just so we can fit everything on the grill for this demonstration. So when it comes to seasonings and rubs, you know, I would really encourage you to use your local flavors. Doesn't mean that you just have to copy everything identical for what they have in America. I was born in Australia. Sometimes I take inspiration from those ingredients. And one of the things, for example, is in a classic Tex-Mex rub, you have the spice cumin. But unfortunately in Polish, cumin has the same name as a different spice called caraway seed. So it can be complicated to find. I think you should find the flavors you enjoy even with local ingredients, and the way that I put rubs is I just throw them in and taste them, throw a little bit. You don't always have to follow a recipe.
Więc tutaj Jess zachęca, żebyśmy wszyscy oczywiście eksperymentowali z różnymi smakami, nie musimy za każdym razem kopiować jakiejś konkretnej marynaty, można korzystać z lokalnych przypraw, ona też dużo eksperymentuje. Tutaj klasyczny Tex-Mex powinien zawierać cumin po angielsku, który jest cuminkiem czy czymś takim w Polsce. No właśnie, i teraz będzie Tex-Mex bez tego, bez tej przyprawy, natomiast zaraz powie, jakie tutaj... Will you tell what's
Of course.
inside?
So this one is, and you saw how I measured it. That's how I like to measure. But it has paprika, it has oregano, which is very common in Mexican cooking, salt, onion, garlic, chili, and cumin.
Więc to, jak widać, jest bardzo, Jess na wyczucie wrzuca wszystkiego po trochu. Ma cebulę, granulowany czosnek, paprykę pikantną, chili, ma paprykę słodką, oregano, które jest bardzo popularne właśnie w kuchni meksykańskiej i sól.
Okay, cool.
I to chyba wszystko.
Sorry,
And
I'm
pepper?
checking the grill.
No.
I actually didn't put pepper because the chili pepper has enough flavor in it, but you can put pepper if you prefer. My question is, I want to use this on the flank steak. What do you think we should season this with? The top blade, I'm just going to do salt so you can really taste the beef. So it's a hard choice, right?
Yeah.
What would you usually do?
I
at home?
usually use salt and
Thank you.
pepper for this cut, nothing
Thank
more.
you. Okay, so that one we'll do salt and pepper.
But we have this excellent
Well, that's going on at the end.
butter.
It'll be good. Well, I will
Okay.
tell you about all the stuff. Don't worry about it.
No, I think hanger must go salt and pepper as well.
Okay,
It's
so I'm
just
gonna cut this just to keep the room on our grill. If you have a huge grill and you have lots of room, by all means keep them whole. We're gonna do sections of them just for today, because if you look at the grill, I've set it up in a very particular way, and that's 2-zone cooking. So all the coals are only to one side.
Czyli tak, ona teraz przecięła tego flat irona, ale nie chciała tego robić i teraz flanka tnie też nie chciała tego robić. Generalnie powinniśmy najlepiej to robić w całości, i flat irona, i flanka, bo wtedy jest najlepiej, ale ponieważ tutaj, żeby nam się to zmieściło na grillu, bo grill jest tak przygotowany oczywiście na strefy, to tym, ja się na tym tak dobrze nie znam, Bart o wiele lepiej wie, o co chodzi, ale jest, że te węgle są tylko na jednej stronie i to jest strefa gorąca, a na drugiej stronie nie ma węgli.
Okay.
Is that right?
I understood everything you said, so absolutely. So again, I'm going to run through them. This is the flat iron, the flank, and this is the hanger steak. I've got just salt on this. I've got salt according to the instructions. I'm also going to add a little bit of pepper as well, which is going to give it a nice flavor. For me, the difference is, and you heard me say this before, salt is a flavor enhancer. It's very neutral, so you only taste the beef. Pepper is actually a spice, so as soon as you add pepper, you're changing the flavor.
Czyli teraz robimy marynowanie przed grillowaniem, sól i pieprz. Jeśli chodzi, oprócz flanka, flank ma Tex-Mexa. I jeśli chodzi o sól, to sól nie zmienia w ogóle, jest neutralna jeśli chodzi o smak, czyli zostaje pełny aromat i smak mięsa. Pieprz jest przyprawą i pieprz już zmienia smak, ale został dodany. So it's nothing wrong to add pepper before grilling?
I don't think that there's a problem with it. It's again personal preference. Some people think that it burns on the grill. If you ask me and you gave me like a choice of steak that has a really nearly burnt edge or none at all, I will always pick the one with the burnt edge. It's actually extra flavor that I prefer. So you make the choice that's right for you. I added before.
Okej, czyli jakby nie ma problemu, to są już kwestia preferencji, czy dodamy ten pieprz na początku, czy nie. Niektórzy mówią, że się pali na grillu pieprz, więc nie dają, ale Jess akurat lubi tak, jak jest więcej tego spalonego smaku.
I'll swap with you. I'll stand on this side now. So I have my grill nice and hot. I'm going to cook all of these three in the same way.
Teraz wrzucamy wszystkie steki, które były przed chwilą rozebrane, elementy, i będą się w tym samym czasie grillować.
So what you'll see me do, which is a little bit unusual, is I'm going to keep flipping them. It's the method that I call just keep flipping, and it's an easy method to remember because you just do what it says.
Jess będzie grillowała je metodą ciągłego przerzucania ze strony na stronę. Jest to bardzo prosta metoda, ponieważ trzeba ciągle przerzucać z jednej strony na drugą.
And the idea of just keep flipping is I've got that heat to one side of the grill. It's hot and concentrated, really, really high heat. And if anything goes wrong, I've got the cool side of the grill without any coals that I can quickly drag the steak across.
Więc zaletą tej metody jest to, że jakby cały czas jest kontrolowane temperatura, to co się dzieje ze stekiem i jakby coś było już za wysoko, no to może go w każdej chwili przerzucić w trochę chłodniejsze miejsce.
So it actually gives me better control when I have it set up this way because the heat will let me get a really good crust and that cool puts me in charge of the temperature.
I to jest fajna metoda, bo ta wyższa temperatura da właśnie tą chrupkość, trochę tak przypali, będzie się karmelizować, a ta niższa temperatura daje kontrolę no właśnie nad temperaturą później z samego steka.
I'm very, very sorry that everyone at home can't smell this right now because it smells amazing.
Tak, bardzo jest nam przykro, że wszyscy nie czujecie tego zapachu, który my właśnie teraz czujemy i tutaj obecni.
So the idea behind flipping it is I want to build a crust on the outside of the steaks, and you might be wondering when you see it why it looks so pale, but you have to trust that if I continue to move it, it will get a really nice outside sear.
Także na razie one jeszcze wyglądają trochę blado, ale zaraz się to zmieni, nie martwcie się.
But the main thing is, if I continue to move it and I keep it constantly moving, I'm not going to overcook the middle, which is really important, especially for thin steaks.
Więc tutaj jak one będą... Could you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah. So when I keep moving it and I keep flipping it, I'm building the crust, but I'm not letting the steak overcook in the middle because one side's never on the heat for too long.
Okej. Więc przez to, że się je przerzuca, one będą super właśnie miały tą skorupkę na zewnątrz, ale nigdy ich nie przeciągniemy, bo to są dosyć cienkie steki i łatwo je przeciągnąć. W sensie, jeżeli będą za długo leżały na jednej stronie.
So you can see I'm moving them really every 20 to 30 seconds, and it also, I can watch to see where my hot spots are and I can move them accordingly. So actually one end of the hanger steak is thicker than the other, so I might keep this thinner end to the edge of the coals and that thicker end directly over the coals, just using my heat.
Tak, i bardzo fajna jest ta opcja z tymi strefami ciepła, no bo na przykład jeżeli stek jest trochę nieregularny, to tak jak w przypadku hangera, z jednej strony jest cieńszy, z jednej strony jest grubszy, no to ta grubsza część jest nad tą strefą gorącą, a ta cieńsza sobie leży w tym chłodniejszym.
Honestly, Maria, if I'm being honest, I feel like we're going to season everything with our sweat today because that feels like what's happening right now. Yeah. You don't want to tell everyone that? I'm kidding. So, the nice part also about just keep flipping is it's very quick. A lot of people like reverse sear. I call it like a bike with the training wheels. Do you have the little wheels when you're a kid?
Yeah.
It's a bike with the training wheels because it's easy every time, but it also takes a really long time. So this gets you really good steak really quickly.
Tak, ta metoda jest właśnie super, bo bardzo szybko zrobimy pyszne steki. No, a jeśli chodzi o reverse sear, no to jest fajna metoda, ale zabiera dużo czasu, a my chcemy zrobić szybko steki, bo jesteśmy głodni. We are hungry, right? So we want to make it fast.
Exactly. I mean, I am, and you know, we'll talk about some bigger cuts a little bit later, and there are times where 2-zone reverse sear can be used, but I just don't see it necessary with the thin steak. You should be eating this within 10 minutes, not 1 hour.
Tak, będziemy później mówić w kolejnym wejściu o tych grubych stekach, takich kilku centymetrowych z kością, one potrzebują czasu i tak dalej, ale jeśli chodzi o te takie cienkie steki, to w 10 minut i mamy super obiad.
The other thing I want to show you is, you know, again, with that 2-zone setup, if anything happens, if you need to go to the bathroom, if you need to make a phone call, if someone calls you, you just move the steaks to the indirect side, close the lid, do whatever you need to do. You've bought yourself time.
To jest super właśnie metoda z tymi strefami, bo zawsze jak coś nam wyskoczy, że nagle musimy odejść od grilla, to po prostu przesuwamy je na strefę chłodniejszą i możemy zadzwonić albo iść do...
Sorry, Bart, I'll clean that up later. But I can't help it. I have to always have a clear surface. So it's part of my OCD. So obviously what you can do to check when they're ready is use a meat thermometer.
Oczywiście zawsze możemy, jeśli chodzi o sprawdzenie poziomu wysmażenia, możemy użyć termometru.
But if you're confident, it took me many years to do this, but eventually you can do it by feel. I just don't like when people tell beginners to do by feel. It's very complicated, I think, without experience.
Yeah, there are no beginners here, so
Good.
luckily that's not their problem.
Okay.
Więc tutaj jak się wiele lat już grilluje i ma się tyle doświadczenia co Jess, czy tutaj wszyscy obecni zebrani, no to naprawdę na wyczucie można już robić. Ale jak ktoś początkuje, to zawsze polecamy, żeby termometr jednak sprawdzić.
Okay,
Jaka
so
jest
here's
temperatura.
what I'm doing. All these 3 steaks were different sizes, right? So I'm going to take them off at different times. I'm going to take the flat iron off now. It's the thinnest, it's also the most tender. I want it to have the least time, but you can see, I don't know which camera I'm going to, but I hope you can see the crust on that. You can see we built a really nice crust that's really important for flavor, and we should have it perfectly cooked in the middle. With the rest of these steaks, the hanger is actually deceptively thick, even though it's narrow, so it does need a little bit more time. And the flank is also another one that's a little bit stubborn. So I want to give it a few more minutes. If I don't want it to develop any more color, I can finish it on the indirect side.
Więc teraz w pierwszej kolejności zjechał flat iron, dlatego że on jest najcieńszy i najszybciej się robi z tych trzech. Jeśli chodzi o hangera, on jest, pomimo że jest wąski, to jest dosyć gruby, więc będzie potrzebował więcej czasu. A flank, on już ma dosyć ładną taką skórkę mu się zrobiła, ale on jest zdradliwy i taki triki, więc lepiej go jeszcze trochę podtrzymać. Ale on pewnie zejdzie w drugiej kolejności, a można go przesunąć właśnie już do tej strefy chłodniejszej.
So I'm actually going to leave those there for now, just on that indirect side, because I can sort of tell that they need a few more minutes, but I want to start talking to you about the other things that we've prepared with them. And so to do that, I'm going to move them over. I like to do very simple sides with meat. And one of the ways that you can add a lot of flavor are with 2 of the dishes that I have for you here today. This is actually a compound butter, which is just a fancy way of saying flavored butter.
Więc tak, Jess generalnie w grillowaniu ceni prostotę i tak samo w dodatkach prostota jest bardzo ważna, więc jeżeli chodzi o takie dodatki, które dzisiaj zaproponowała Wam, żebyście przetestowali jej przepisu, to właśnie jest, to są żółtka takie ścięte cured eggs. Dostaniecie później przepisy, podwiesimy właśnie przepisy na te żółtka, one są super właśnie jako dodatek do steka. I drugi dodatek to jest no, masełko aromatyzowane różnymi fajnymi przyprawami, między innymi limonką i tak dalej, i też dostaniecie na to przepis.
So I heard cured eggs in there, so I know she told you what that is, but I get to tell you in English now. This butter is a chili lime butter. I just added some chili powder and grated lime zest. You can make, I've made blue cheese and walnut flavor before. You can use parsley and mustard for a very traditional flavor. It stays in your fridge for a long time, and it's a great way to add extra flavor. And this is the cured egg yolk. Again, we'll post the recipe for you. It's really interesting because it's got that richness of the egg, and it just pairs really nicely with the steak.
Yeah, I tried it already.
Huh?
I tried it.
What do you think?
I think it's awesome.
Do you like eggs though? Are you like an egg fan?
I'm regular egg eater, I would say.
So
But
not a
this
fan,
one,
but not a hater,
I've never
right?
tried this one before I met you, so it was very interesting.
The texture is not for everybody. Some people don't like. It's like a jelly bean. Do you have jelly belly inside?
A little bit.
Yeah.
No, but it's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, you might be wondering what I'm doing here. Just to explain, I can just feel that that's still really rare on the inside. Now that I can pay attention again, that's the beauty part. On, off, whatever.
Okej, czyli właśnie jakby to tutaj Jess rozmawiamy sobie o dodatkach, ale ona cały czas kontroluje i przewraca. Czasami sprawdza sobie, jak one się sprawują i przerzuca ze strefy tej gorącej do tej chłodniejszej na zmianę cały czas kontrolując właśnie temperaturę tego steka.
So I don't know if this is going to be a difficult word maybe to translate, but the way I would describe it is intuitive.
Intuicyjny we have in Poland.
You just know, you with experience, you just sort of know where it's at. And, you know, because everyone says, just keep flipping, what do I do every 20 seconds? Yes, in theory, but you also have to be intuitive. You have to sort of know, need some time over here, I'm going to move it back over here. But you can keep it over the heat the whole time if you want to.
Tak, także właśnie tutaj w grillowaniu na tym polega zabawa, że to jest kwestia wyczucia, jakiejś intuicji, doświadczenia i cały czas bawimy się przy grillu.
Okay, so let's swap back again, excuse me.
A tutaj jeszcze, maybe I will, because I didn't translate this part about your butter.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, so, więc to jest masło właśnie ze startą skórką limonki i z chili, ale Jess też się bawi z różnymi tymi smakami masła i robiła jakieś z orzechami, z blue cheese, no można po prostu
Parsley and mustard.
Z musztardą i pietruszką, więc po prostu kombinacji to tylko ogranicza nas wyobraźnię.
So now the other thing that you've seen us do is just leave that steak there, which is resting. I know I'm talking to the experts, so I'm assuming you rest your steak, but now I can give you the scientific explanation for why.
Więc tutaj to, co się dzieje, no to oczywiście odpoczywanie steka. Wszyscy tutaj są ekspertami, więc wiedzą, że steki muszą odpoczywać. I teraz Jess jako meat scientist powie, dlaczego tak jest z naukowego punktu widzenia.
So if you imagine meat is made up, and you saw it especially with that flank steak, of muscle fibers, and within those fibers are there's actually muscle bundles that have muscle fibers all the way down to the connective to the things that flex. Rather, I don't want to get too complicated for the translation.
Please don't.
Okay.
Więc tak, no steki składają się z włókien mięśni i to właśnie
Here, let's make it simple. If you take a towel and you make it wet and you turn it like this, all the water will come to the very edge, and if you keep going, it'll start to drip out.
A no właśnie i powiedzmy, wyobraźmy sobie, że stek jest szmatą, która się składa z takich podłużnych włókien. Jak go tak skręcimy, to wyciskamy z niego wodę.
But if you let it, and it's the same when you put a steak on the heat, it acts the same way. It constricts like a muscle.
Czyli a także jeśli właśnie położymy steka na grillu, no to zachowuje się jak normalny mięsień i się napina.
So I'm gonna now, while this is hot, just put a little bit of butter on here to melt, and then I'll get back to. I'm not always great about doing two things at once, but stick with me. So we don't have to translate that. Let's go on to the next thing. So when the muscle is off the heat and it relaxes, the towel opens back up, and the spaces between the fibers open back up, and the water can redistribute.
Okay,
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Więc jak zdejmujemy potem tego steka z gorąca, no to wtedy się te włókna rozluźniają i tak się odkręcają i znowu te soki się mogą przemieszczać. Is that correct?
Yes, that was 100% correct. Close enough.
Close enough.
I didn't understand a word, but yes, it was correct. So we have a little butter situation. I want you to put some gloves on and just keep massaging it. No, I'm kidding. It'll be fine. So the butter can melt on this one, and now the flat iron has had enough time to rest, so I'd like to cut into it and show you what we have. And thank you, Bart, for a nice sharp knife. Appreciate it. It's important. You can feel how tender it is as you cut into it, which is really important. So one of the things you'll also see, it's going to be a little pale. And as it exposes to the air, that color, which is the same thing that gave the water its color, is going to turn more and more pink. Watch.
Czyli teraz go pokroiliśmy i on wydaje się w pierwszej chwili troszeczkę blady, ale jak z czasem, jak złapie trochę powietrza, no to się będzie robił coraz bardziej różowy.
So this one I think we should pair with the egg yolk. What do you think?
All right.
So again, we'll be giving you the instructions, but for now, I want you to see here. Let me turn this around, and I'm going to cut into it right here. Mr. Cameraman, who's got it? Because you don't want to miss this one. You guys on it? We good? Okay. Because you'll see it's still soft in the middle, just like that. And it has the most incredible texture and concentration of flavor. And so now, Maria, also you can see it's already turned more pink. You can see we have it perfectly cooked. It cooked very quickly. And now we have to try it together, which is the important part, right?
All right.
So here, let me get a sample for you and a sample for me.
Wait a second.
What?
I've got something for you.
Oh, that's exciting. Ah, even better. Thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Dziękuję. All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. That is
Really good.
really, really good.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, people.
Yeah. That's really good. And also, can I just point out, I'm not just telling you that my own cooking is really good. It's all about the beef. Honestly.
Well, your cooking is also doing the job.
So that is flat iron. It's one of my favorites. I
Delicious,
definitely encourage you to
delicious.
try it. Do we have plates? Can I grab a plate, please? Or another board, and what I'll do is...
I think maybe we can share it.
Yeah, I'm going to share it and clear some room for
Because
the...
we have another board, so
Oh, okay.
no problem. Tak.
Perfect. You guys can't see, there's a lot of people behind the camera that have started drooling
Yeah.
actively. Thank you. So if you guys want to start on that
Oczywiście
one.
tam jeszcze z tego rozbioru Tomasz Bart i podziel się
Thank you.
stekiem. Mamy oczywiście te steki z rozbioru, które Jess rozbierała, które później będziemy sobie tutaj grillować w naszym tutaj szanownym gronie. I mamy jeszcze więcej w ogóle steków na zapleczu, więc po pokazie wszyscy będziecie mieli dużo steków do zjedzenia, bez obaw.
No oprócz tych to online oglądają, nie?
No oprócz tych, no ale
All right.
Ale
So
można mówić.
tak jest.
next up, we're going to do the hanger steak, which is Maria's favorite. We seasoned lightly with just salt and pepper, and then we put the chili lime butter. The lime adds a lot of brightness and freshness to it. Are you ready for this one?
I am.
Okay. She's ready. She's ready to go. So I'm going to cut across the grain. You can see the grain very, very clearly on the hanger too.
Tak, kroimy w poprzek włókien oczywiście, żeby było mięciutkie, ale i tak będzie.
How do
To
you
jest
like your hanger steak usually? Now,
Yes.
the
The tenderness?
yeah, do you
It's
like that?
perfect.
You like it cooked like that?
It's very good.
Every time I cut into it, especially what you guys should know here, if the meat's been in vacuum seal beforehand, you can expect it, the very first cut, you'll panic because it'll look pale, and then look how much it's changed just sitting here.
Yeah, in seconds.
Yeah, very, very significant difference.
Tak, tutaj właśnie jeżeli mamy w wakuum pakowane mięso, to później jak je zgrillujemy i to przy pierwszym cięciu może się wydawać trochę blady, ale on w sekundy po prostu różowieje i jest po prostu piękny, idealnie.
All right. I think this is yours, but I don't care because it looks really
I have
good.
more, I have more.
Even better. I'm happy to share. I like sharing. So this was the salt and pepper and the chili lime butter on the hanger steak.
Oh my god. Yeah. It's like butter.
That's the butter. No, the steak. The steak is like butter. It's actually very tender, but
Okay,
It has-
I have to have one more. Sorry.
it has the most unusual flavor also because it comes from inside the chest cavity. Only two steaks do that: the hanger steak and the outside skirt steak. Everything else is from
This
outside.
is the best one.
But she says it's the best. Here, let me cut it into bits for everyone to eat. I won't tell them. Here, do you want to take the butter too? Here, we'll put it, just hang on. This is how much butter they like here. Ready? We'll just go for it. There you go. Thank you. All right. So now we're left with our flank steak. We're not serving this with anything this time because we put that very flavorful seasoning on it. But normally you can serve this fajita style, some tortillas, some guacamole, or just some salsa, some kind of sauce. chopped onions. We can make little tacos out of it.
Tutaj w tym momencie nie dodajemy... O, sorry.
No, you're good.
Nie dodajemy tutaj żadnego dodatku specjalnego, bo już dodatkiem specjalnym był Tex-Mex. Ta cała sama przyprawa, ta sama marynata jest już bardzo aromatyczna, ale możemy go serwować właśnie w różnych w stylu fajitas, z różnymi owocami, warzywami, salsami. No generalnie to jest też bardzo, bardzo smakowity element. And what do you think about flank steak? It's in my opinion very full of flavor. And that's why maybe it goes so good with strong marinades.
Definitely. It's a little bit tougher. I think that when you explore beef, you need to think of it nearly like vegetables. They all have a different flavor and texture, and beef is the same. It makes it more exciting and more interesting. It's going to be a little bit cheaper than a ribeye, for example, but you can expect it to be a little tougher, but it's got that different flavor. I say to people, it's steak, not marshmallow.
Okay. Więc to jest, ze stekami jest tak, że
There you go.
trzeba sobie uświadomić to, że każdy element, każdy stek to inna struktura, inna kruchość mięsa, także każdy stek jest naprawdę inny także właśnie dlatego jak z warzywami, do różnych steków używamy różnych dodatków i przypraw i tak dalej, no i po prostu...
And I want you to see, look how juicy this is. No one is paying attention here anymore because everyone is eating. Let me tell you that. No, kidding. Who can
Bo
blame them?
tutaj nastąpiło rozproszenie, bo wszyscy się zajęli jedzeniem, a tu jeszcze trwa wykład. Halo!
But I want you to see, hello, please, thank you. I want you to see, look, it really is perfectly cooked. I wanted this to be a little bit more cooked. We left it on longer. Flank steak does better to medium rather than medium rare. Beautifully pink, edge to edge, but it's still cooked very quickly, right?
Ten flank steak to jest troszeczkę twardszy kawałek i zostawiliśmy go trochę dłużej. On może sobie dojść trochę bardziej, ale jest piękny, różowy i jest nadal mięciutki, więc będzie...
This is gonna have a great flavor too.
Tak.
Like, look how
Okay.
juicy that is.
Yes,
All right, you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right, get the good old stars and stripes. I'm gonna go in, just a little flavor. Right?
It is awesome. Super.
You know what I want to start to
So
make?
tender.
Yeah, it's incredibly tender. It's very flavorful. It's beefy enough to stand up to the seasoning too. You know, we have every Tuesday in Texas is Taco Tuesday, so I don't see why you can't have it in Poland now too.
Yeah, we definitely should.
Absolutely.
No także tutaj jest ten flank steak, on jest rewelacyjny, chociaż miał tak mocną przyprawę ten Tex-Mex, to ma na tyle wyrazisty mięsny smak, że w ogóle idealnie.
Also, there's no day of the week that starts with P, so you can't have pierogi day, you may as well have taco day, you know?
Okay, that's
Sorry, I was eating. Never
Yeah,
mind.
we're gonna be back while she finishes eating. That's some 3 steaks you might not have heard of before or might not have tried. We encourage you to try them. We're gonna be back after a break to wipe off all our sweat and eat the rest of this with some other steaks.
Dobra, dzięki. Wracamy za następne około 10 minut, bo musimy zjeść steki i wziąć zimny prysznic. Na razie.